stop. Right now, I want you to think about the last time you stared at your code, confused about whether to use Flexbox or CSS Grid. You probably Googled it. Again, maybe you asked ChatGPT, and you still weren't 100% sure, right? Here's the thing. There's actually a dead simple rule that'll end this confusion forever, and most developers have no idea it exists. But here's what's crazy. Choosing the wrong layout system doesn't just waste your time, it creates code that's harder to maintain, harder to make responsive, and honestly, it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the exact framework I use to decide between Flexbox and Grid in literally 3 seconds. No guessing, no overthinking, just a clear visual system that works every single time. And stick around because at the end of this video, I'm going to be sharing how you can get your hands on every project source code I've ever built, with a twist that makes it accessible to literally everyone watching this. Students, career changers, everyone. Let's go. Okay, let's be real for a second. Before Flexbox and Grid came around, CSS layout was an absolute nightmare. I'm talking floats, clear fix hacks, display inline block with that weird white space bug. Raise your hand if you've ever spent 2 hours trying to vertically center a div. Yeah, we've all been there. And when Flexbox finally dropped, it felt like magic. Suddenly we could center things, we could distribute space. It was incredible. Then CSS Grid came along and wait, now we have 2 powerful layout systems? And that's where the confusion started. When do you use which one? Most tutorials will tell you use Flexbox for components, Grid for layouts, but what does that even mean? Today, I'm going to show you something better, something visual, something that clicks immediately, and it all comes down to one simple principle. All right, here it is, the one rule that changes everything. Flexbox is for one-dimensional layouts. CSS Grid is for 2-dimensional layouts. Look at this slide. One dimension means you're thinking in either rows or columns, not both at the same time. Think about a navigation bar. Your links flow in one direction, left to right. That's one-dimensional. That's Flexbox territory. Now think about a photo gallery. You have rows going down and columns going across. You're controlling both axes at the same time. That's 2-dimensional. That's CSS Grid. So instead of asking, should I use Flexbox or Grid, start asking, am I laying things out in one direction or do I need to control both directions? Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, but show me real-world examples. Don't worry, we're about to dive into 2 real-world case studies that'll make this crystal clear. But first, if you want a quick reference guide you can keep on your second monitor, I've created a completely free CSS cheat sheet that breaks down all the Flexbox and Grid properties you'll actually use. The link is in the description. It's 100% free, no email required. Just grab it and keep going. All right, let's look at Flexbox in action. So when should you reach for Flexbox? Choose Flexbox when you need to align items in a single direction, you're building navigation bars, menus, or toolbars. You need to distribute space within a container. You need to support slightly older browsers, vertical centering of content, and anytime your items need to grow or shrink to fill space, you use Flexbox. But let me show you this in a real example because seeing it live changes everything. Check out this navigation bar I built. We've got our logo on the left, navigation links in the middle, and auth buttons on the right. Now watch what happens when I resize the browser. See how everything responds perfectly? The spacing adjusts automatically. The buttons stay aligned. This is Flexbox doing its thing. Now, could you build this with CSS Grid? Technically, yes, but you'd be writing way more code for something that Flexbox handles in 3 lines. Let me show you the actual CSS because this is where it gets beautiful. Look at how simple this is. Display flex, justify content, space between, align items center. 3 lines, that's it. Display flex turns on Flexbox mode. Justify content, space between, pushes items to the edges with space. Align items center vertically centers everything. This is why Flexbox is perfect for navigation. You're working in one dimension, just a horizontal row. You want to distribute space, you want alignment. Now let's flip the script and look at when Flexbox doesn't work and when you absolutely need CSS Grid. This next example is going to blow your mind. Grid is for when you need control over both rows and columns. You're building complex page layouts, creating card grids, image galleries, or product listings. You need overlapping or layered elements, creating dashboard interfaces, magazine style or newspaper layouts. But the real magic of Grid is something called autofill and min-max. And when you see this in action, you're going to wonder how you ever lived without it. Imagine you're building a portfolio to showcase your projects. You need a grid of cards that looks good on desktop, tablet, and mobile. Look at these 4 project cards. They're perfectly aligned in rows and columns. Now watch this as I resize the browser. Did you see that? The grid automatically adjusted from 4 columns to 2 columns to 1 column. We didn't write any media queries for that. Try doing that with Flexbox. You'd need multiple media queries, you'd be fighting with Flex Wrap, calculating widths. It becomes a mess. But with Grid, one line of code handles all of it. Let me show you. Okay, this is the line of code that changed how I build websites. Grid template columns, repeat, autofill, min-max 300 pixels, 1FR. Let me break this down because it looks complex, but it's genius. Repeat parentheses, we're creating a repeating pattern. Autofill, this tells Grid to automatically figure out how many columns fit. Min-max 300 pixels 1FR, each column is at least 300 pixels wide, but can expand equally if there's extra space. So what does this mean in English? It means browser, fit as many 300 pixel columns as you can. If there's extra space, distribute it equally. If there's not enough space, drop to fewer columns. That's responsive design with 0 media queries. And this is just scratching the surface of what Grid can do. But before we go further, if you want to master both Flexbox and Grid at a deeper level, I've created a complete CSS Grid and Flexbox Mastery Guide. This isn't just theory. It has real-world examples, interactive code, and a visual decision explanation that tells you exactly which layout system to use in any situation. The link is in the description. All right, let's keep going. Let me give you the TLDR, the quick decision framework you can use starting today. Use Flexbox for one-dimensional layouts, row or column. Navigation bars, toolbars, menus, when you need items to grow or shrink, vertical or horizontal centering. Use CSS Grid for two-dimensional layouts, rows and columns, card grids, galleries, dashboards, when you need precise control over both axes, when you need overlapping elements. Here's the mental shortcut. If you're thinking, I need to line things up in a row, or I need to stack things vertically, Flexbox. If you're thinking, I need a grid of things, CSS Grid. But here's the pro move that most developers miss. Use both together. Use CSS Grid for your overall page layout, sidebar, main content, footer. Then inside those grid areas, use Flexbox for your components, nav bars, button groups, card layouts. For example, in a dashboard, Grid creates the overall structure. Flexbox handles the navigation bar at the top, the button toolbar, the individual card components. They're not competitors, they're teammates. Once you start thinking this way, you'll never get stuck again. Quick note on browser support, because I know someone's going to ask. Both Flexbox and Grid have excellent support in all modern browsers. Flexbox 98% global support, Grid 96% global support. Unless you're supporting Internet Explorer 10, which you shouldn't be in 2026, you're totally fine to use both of these. All right, we're almost done, but now I want to talk about something important. Look, I need to be real with you for a second. This video, the one you just watched, it took me days to create. I spent days building these interactive slides you've been seeing with animations, live demos, code examples. Another day writing and refining the script to make sure it actually makes sense. and another day filming, editing, color grading, adding graphics. And I do this because I remember exactly what it was like being where you might be right now. So here's what I've done. I've taken all the source code from my tutorials, projects, responsive websites, interactive components, dashboard layouts, and I've made them available for download. But here's the thing, I'm not putting a fixed price on it. You pay what you think it's worth. Could be $3, could be $5, could be $10, could be $50. You decide. I'm doing it this way because I know some of you are students. Some of you are in countries where $50 is a lot of money. Some of you are career changers trying to break into development while working another job. And honestly, if getting access to all my source code helps you land your first developer job, or finally understand responsive design, or build that portfolio project you've been putting off, then even if you pay $3, we both win. The link is in the description. Download it, use it, learn from it, build with it, and if it helps you, come back and let me know. Leave a comment. That feedback means more to me than the money ever could. Seriously. All right, let's wrap this up. Today you learned the one-dimensional versus two-dimensional rule, when to use Flexbox, navigation, toolbars, one-direction layouts, when to use grid, card grids, galleries, two-direction layouts, and how to use them together for maximum power. If this video helped you, smash that like button so YouTube shows it to more developers who need it. Subscribe if you want more CSS tutorials that actually make sense. And drop a comment below. What layout are you struggling with right now? Navigation, card grids, dashboard layout? Tell me and I'll help you figure out whether you need Flexbox, Grid, or both. All right, I'll see you in the next video.